Okay, I'm starting out with my walnut boards straight from the mill. Each one is an inch thick or 4/4. I'm about to go to the table saw, cut a straight edge on each one so I can get ready to plane. Okay, let's get ready to go. When I'm not using the table saw, I like to unplug it just for safety issues. Now I'm going to measure the front of the blade and the back of the blade next to the fence so I can try to cut as straight as I can to go ahead and minimize how much plane I need to do. I'm going to turn the volume down and finish cutting all the pieces. Now that I have all the pieces cut, you can see that they line up fairly straight right now, but I'm going to have to switch over to the planer. I'm going to start with the electric planer, see how that works on my table saw bench. You can see right here that the table saw didn't actually make a straight 90-degree cut, so I'm going to have to use the planer and see how it comes out. This is the before, and then when I get done, obviously you will see the after. This is the first time I've ever used an electric planer, so it was kind of trial and error on my part, just looking it over to see how it was exactly working, but it did a pretty good job. I can't complain. Okay, I have to plane each board. I went and used the hand planer, which I've come to like. As you can see right here, there's daylight. There's daylight. There should be no daylight. When I get done, there's gonna be no daylight. As you can see, after the combination of the electric planer and the hand planer, my sides are perfectly square. Now I'm going to move to my Tabletop Craftsman bench planer. Go ahead and get each board as flat as possible, or as flat and as level as possible, so I can minimize how much sand I'm going to have to do. Using the Craftsman benchtop planer got pretty messy, and it was wood chips everywhere. So make sure you're in an area that you don't mind cleaning up. I mean, you don't mind making a big mess, but well worth it. Okay, right now I'm drawing the lines. I'm drawing my lines so I can go ahead and line up the boards with the dowel pins that I'm about to put in. Using my dowel jig, I put the dowel jig on this board, drill a hole, put the dowel jig on this board, drill a hole, insert the dowel pin, and then it lines it up. And I use the clamp to hold the board while I drill the jig. I mean, while I drill the hole. Okay, right here is, I have one clamp in the middle, and I just pulled it, I just snugged up a little bit. As you can see, everything lines up just perfect. No no gaps or nothing. Everything just perfect. There's no glue, there's no dowel pins, just one clamp, just barely tightened. Okay, before you glue it up, you do a dry fit, which I'm glad I did, because this dowel lines up with this hole, but it's very tight. So I'm gonna have to go in and make it a little bit bigger because it won't quite line up. But as soon as I do that, I'm about to glue it and then clamp it. Okay, now that I've cut my dowel holes, with my vise and dowel jig, I cut the dowel holes, and now I'm ready to glue up and clamp. So I laid out where I'm going to sit my clamps. I started in the middle, went out a foot with each clamp and 3 inches on the sides. I'm going to put glue on the inside of this board, inside that board, stick them together. Then put glue on the inside of this board, stick it together. And this board, stick it together. Then clamp them all down. Because since the glue works pretty fast, it's better to be prepared with all your clamps. And when I did put the clamps down, I made marks so there's no guesswork. And then my little 6-inch clamps over here, I'm just going to use them to clamp the edges. 3 on this side, and I gotta get the 3 down there to put over there on that side. waiting on this. So that's already good. I see I have to glue this side. The final glue side. This one. A quick favor.
What?
Turn the camera on. It's sitting in the TV.
Turn it off?
Here is the glue up. You can see the glue is coming out of all the seams. That means that there's a tight connection. Over here, I had to use those clamps on the end. Didn't have to on this side because it butted up pretty good. It's pretty level. The dowels really leveled it out. So now all I have to do is go ahead and put the dowel holes in that. And when this dries, I'll go ahead and glue. Those up. And then that's 4. This is 4. And I'll connect it all together. Here is the unveiling, the unclamping, so to speak. All right. Pretty straight. All this glue is going to get scraped off with the scraper. Let's see. There she blows. You can see one piece. Pretty good when it could just balance by itself, so you know you did your leveling. Look at all the glue drops. This is the front side, or the top side. This is the back. I scrape all that glue. This is where the clamps were. But good thing I'm using aluminum, so it doesn't leave any marks. That's where the little 6-inch clamps were. Okay, here is the final glue up between each section. I had to use straps because I didn't have any clamps that was 50 inches. I used 5 400-pound clamps, and they're on there pretty tight. I put these little cushions here to not dent the wood up. Then I clamped some 2x4s to the table so as the wood wouldn't bow, which it's straight, it's not bony. Then the one section where they met, I put one clamp to make that even. And if I look under, there's no bowing either. And I put a towel under the straps so that this wouldn't dig into the table when you're ratcheting down. And underneath, the straps do not touch the glue line. And I just put some blocks on it to lift it up so I could give the straps a place to go. And I put one right there as well. Since the straps aren't quite as strong as clamps, glue didn't completely pop up throughout the entire length, so I did just pour some glue on the top and kind of rubbed it in with my finger. I think it's had a little to do with it took longer than I thought it would to hook the clamps up. I mean the straps up. But okay, this is the top of the table. I'm about to clean up the glue lines. I'm going to use the planer. I was using the scraper, but the planer was so much easier. Might even switch to the bigger planer. But as for right now, this one is working. I just have the table clamped to my makeshift table with these 36-inch aluminum bar clamps. So go ahead and plane away, and done in a minute. For example,
so caught up every day, trying to keep it all together, while the time just slips away.
okay, I just got done using the planer, and now I'm about to use the sander. Oh, I see a little bit of glue there. I'm about to use a sander, and then I'll see. I'm in the backyard about to use the circular saw to cut a straight edge on one end. This end has already been cut. It's straight. I have my hearing protection, breathing protection, eye protection. Use the circular saw. This is the test fit in the kitchen. I'm trying to figure out what edge profile I want, the hangover, how much hangover I want. Hasn't been stained, or do I want to go natural with mineral oil or tung oil or teak oil, or put a stain in and a poly finish. But this is the basic. After seeing the walnut table sitting on the island for its test fit, I realized it looked a little thin, so I came up with the idea of making it thicker around the edges. So I said, let me add another inch border, and it can give me the illusion of a 2-inch thick table. So I went back to the garage and cut some 1-inch thick pieces, glued them up, and then started clamping them down to all the sides. I had to use pretty much every clamp that I had, even had to use some of the straps to get the length, but it turned out perfect, and I'm glad I did. Right here I added a border around the entire tabletop. The thickness of the walnut was 1 inch. And by looking at it this way, from here to here, it gives the illusion that it's 2 inches thick. And you can see how I just added a border around the entire piece. I used 2 pipe clamps to glue. I used a variety of C-clamps and 2 pipe clamps, one over there just to keep it level, and then the rest I use straps. You can see they're pretty tight. I'm going to use the belt sander. I'm going to use the belt sander. Has 120 grit because the table is already pretty. Breathing protection, hearing protection, eye protection. I'm using my Craftsman 1 3/4 plunge variable router with a 3/8 inch beading bit. You can see the router did a great job. It put that beautiful edge all the way around the entire table, pretty much error-free. Then, once I went back to the garage, I started with the oil. Put mineral oil over it, let the mineral oil set in for 24 hours, and then I was done. See how glossy the mineral oil looks on the walnut. It really brought the shine out of it. I'm glad I went with the mineral oil. Okay, here is the countertop with the poly on after the mineral oil dried. I left the mineral oil on for 24 hours, then I wiped it off. Then I put on 3 coats of polyurethane. I put on 1 coat, let it dry, waited 2 hours, put the second coat, then you have to wait for the next day to put the 3rd coat on. I used the wipe on technique since it was the back, but I prefer the brush technique, but since it's the back, doesn't matter. You can see there's a little border. You can see the border. I made a border so it gives the illusion that it's thicker than what it is. Plus it just sits around, it sits on top of the island on all 4 corners, so I don't even have to mount it with any screws. I think I'm just going to use 1, and then I'll show you the top side. You can see the reflection of the tools. Okay, now here is the top side. You can see it has slight higher gloss to it because I did 4 coats, 4 or 5, can't remember exactly. You can see the edge molding. A bad shot. You can see the tools in the countertop. I was pretty impressed that just after using mineral oil and then a couple coats of the poly, it kept its glow. Now I'm about to go install it. I purposely chose light wood, walnut with the sapwood in it, opposed to just all premium pieces. I actually like the contrast. And then I tried my best to put them in the middle. I thought I would add this in as a little bonus. Here's the table, the walnut table, after 2.5 years of being in our kitchen. You can see it still has a shine. All I did was just use water and soap right now to just wipe it down, but you can see it's still glossy, it's still shiny. I never gave the dimensions of the walnut table. It's 47.5 inches wide and 67.5 inches long. I spent $300 on buying the material, and then I had to buy the router, I had to buy the 2 planers I used, I had to buy the belt sander, I had to buy the tabletop planer, and I had to buy the electric planer. Even with all that, and then glue and some clamps, even with all of that, I did not spend $800 on the table. I ended up coming in right under $800, and I still have a nice looking table after 2 years. So appreciate you watching, and you have a nice day.